Alright, let's dive into something that's been buzzing in the film world lately, Eli Roth's Ice Cream Man and its controversial use of generative AI. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, let me just say this. Personally, I think this story is a perfect example of how technology is reshaping creativity, but it also raises some serious questions about transparency and artistic integrity. So, buckle up, because this is a wild ride. Here's the deal: Eli Roth, known for his horror films, recently confirmed that generative AI was used in Ice Cream Man, specifically in some animated sequences. Now, what makes this really interesting is that initially, Roth described these scenes as being created through a traditional, hand-drawn process. In an interview with Polygon, he even emphasized his own role, saying, "I have an animation background, and I drew it." He talked about drawing loop cycles, working with animators, and trying to mimic the style of 1920s haunted Mickey Mouse cartoons. Sounds like a labor of love, right? But here's the twist: just a day later, Roth backtracked and admitted that, actually, AI was used in a very small portion of a few scenes. Wait, what? From my perspective, this is where things get messy. First off, why the initial denial? Was it a PR move? A misunderstanding? Or just a case of not wanting to tarnish the film's handcrafted image? What many people don't realize is that AI in film is still a touchy subject. Some see it as a tool that enhances creativity, while others view it as a shortcut that undermines human artistry. Roth's flip-flop here feels like a microcosm of that larger debate. If you take a step back and think about it, this isn't just about Ice Cream Man, it's about the future of filmmaking itself. Now, let's talk about the AI itself. Dark Half, a company specializing in AI visual effects, is credited on the production. This isn't their first rodeo, but it's one of the first times AI use has been so publicly called out in a high-profile project. A detail I find fascinating is that viewers at early screenings were the ones who flagged the AI-generated material. They noticed the Fleischer-style cartoons and an illustrated flashback that just felt off. This raises a deeper question: how much AI is too much AI? And at what point does it stop being a tool and start being a co-creator? In my opinion, the real issue here isn't whether AI was used, it's the lack of transparency. Roth's initial statement painted a picture of a director deeply involved in the traditional animation process, which, let's be honest, sounds way more romantic than "I used AI to speed things up." But here's the thing: if AI was truly just a small part of the process, why not own it from the start? What this really suggests is that there's still a stigma around AI in art, and creators are hesitant to fully embrace it publicly. That's a shame, because AI isn't going anywhere, it's only going to become more integrated into filmmaking. What makes this story even more intriguing is the broader trend it's part of. AI is popping up everywhere in entertainment, from scriptwriting to voice acting. But every time it's revealed, there's this backlash, this sense of, "you cheated." Personally, I think that's short-sighted. AI isn't a replacement for human creativity, it's a tool, like a camera or a paintbrush. The problem isn't the tool itself, it's how we talk about it and how we use it. If Roth had been upfront about the AI from the start, framing it as a collaboration between human and machine, maybe the reaction would have been different. So, where does this leave us? Well, Ice Cream Man hasn't been widely released yet, so we don't know how audiences will react to the AI-generated scenes. But one thing's for sure, this conversation isn't going away. As someone who loves film and technology, I'm excited to see how this plays out. But I'm also cautious. Because if we're not careful, we risk losing the trust of audiences who feel misled. And in an industry built on storytelling, trust is everything. Here's my closing thought: AI in film isn't a binary choice between good and bad. It's a spectrum, and we're still figuring out where the lines are. What do you think? Is AI a threat to artistic integrity, or just the next step in creative evolution? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear your take. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Until next time, keep questioning, keep creating, and keep watching.